In finalizing divorces from your first and second wives, were there non-disclosure agreements in connection with those divorces?
Senator, not that I'm aware of.
If there were, would you agree to release those first and second wives from any confidentiality agreement?
Senator, it's not something I'm aware of.
But if there were, you would agree to release them from a confidentiality agreement?
Senator, that's not my responsibility.
Not my responsibility. In his confirmation hearing, Trump nominee for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth faced questions over how much his ex-wives could talk about their marriages to him. It was relevant to the confirmation proceedings because of claims about abuse in those marriages, claims that Pete Hegseth denied. MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin dug into divorce records and found not a full non-disparagement agreement, but something else that does seem worth knowing about. Joining us now is Lisa Rubin, MSNBC legal correspondent. Lisa, it's good to see you. Thanks for your reporting on this. Can you describe the document that you found? Tell us how it fits into the broader picture of reporting on Hegseth.
Well, I think, Rachel, let's talk about, first, I want to clarify something.
Yeah.
This is not a full non-disparagement provision. In fact, it's a very broad non-disparagement provision. What it's not is a non-disclosure agreement in typical fashion. In terms of how this fits into the larger reporting about Hegseth, Hegseth has been dogged by all sorts of allegations about his past, which you recounted in your earlier segment, including ones related to his 2 marriages. The fact that Hegseth had denied that he had non-disclosure agreements might be technically correct, but we talk a lot about the difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law.
Non-disclosure versus non-disparagement is the distinction.
That's correct, but functionally, even though this doesn't say either one of them can't say anything, functionally, this operates almost as if it were a non-disclosure agreement, because by agreeing not to engage in any, and this is the quote, public discourse that would disparage the other spouse, essentially, Samantha Hegseth has her hands tied. She is precluded legally from saying something that could be construed by Pete Hegseth and his legal representatives to be damaging to him. And as we know, Pete Hegseth and his lawyers have alleged multiple times to multiple people that the things they have said in the public are themselves defamatory, if not violations of other agreements that he has entered into with them.
And this matters in the confirmation process because of claims about his relationship with his ex-wives, particularly his second wife, that are things that raise questions about his character.
Yeah, and I want to put this into context, particularly with respect to Samantha Hegseth's one and only public statement in regards to that affidavit submitted by her former sister-in-law. That's an affidavit in which Samantha Hegseth's former sister-in-law says that based on things that Samantha said to her, as well as things that she observed, she believes not only that Pete Hegseth has an alcohol abuse problem, but that he was abusive to Samantha. Samantha Hegseth's statement to NBC says there was no physical abuse during my marriage, but she doesn't deny any emotional abuse. She doesn't deny that she feared for her safety, which is another allegation that Danielle Hegseth makes in the affidavit. She doesn't deny even that she had a code word that she used with friends and family in case she ever needed an escape plan with respect to that fear of Pete Hegseth. All she is saying in her public statement is that there was no physical abuse. There is not a lot of contradiction between that statement and what Danielle Hegseth is saying. Danielle Hegseth has an allegation of one instance of sexual abuse, and she herself draws a distinction between physical and sexual abuse in her affidavit.
Briefly, have you heard anything from Capitol Hill tonight?
I have. I've heard from Senator Tim Kaine's office because Senator Kaine was asked what this means to him. He said not only can he understand this language as sort of a disincentive for someone to speak, but a spokesperson for the senator commented to me tonight when I asked them, do you think Hegseth was untruthful or misleading in his answers to the questions Senator Kaine asked him during his testimony? The response on the record attributable to a spokesperson for Senator Tim Kaine is, yes, he does think that, Rachel.
That's important, given that his vote is slated for tomorrow. Lisa Rubin, MSNBC legal correspondent, thank you for this reporting. Thanks for helping us get it on the air. I know it was a bear to get it sorted tonight, but we've got every I dotted, every T crossed, and I really appreciate your work on this.
Thank you.
I'll be right back. Stay with us.